All right, hello everybody. I just want to do a little video about a problem that I've encountered here on my 2015 Ford F150. This is an XLT model, but this problem has happened for a lot of F150s. So I just want to show you what it involves. First of all, you'll notice my gas cap no longer has, my fuel lid no longer has any kind of spring action back. Now, you're going to find some videos on YouTube about older models of F-150s experiencing this problem. And they're going to show you a variety of things to do inside here. It's a pretty easy repair, pretty fast repair. They're going to reach up and they're going to snatch this cap off right here, and there's going to be three 8 or 10 millimeter screws underneath here. That doesn't exist on the newer 2015 models. Let me show you what's underneath the car. What we're going to do is we're going to go directly underneath this. And what you'll notice is it gets fairly cavernous down here. I've got to light it up, looking directly up from the bottom. Up inside, you'll see the assembly right there. Now, that spring right there is what has come out of the assembly. That's what we have to work on. Okay, for the ease of explaining exactly what was happening with the spring mechanism that made it not work, I went ahead and took the assembly out of the vehicle. You don't have to take the assembly out of the vehicle to fix this. Unlike earlier versions of the F-150, I think all the way up to 2014. You don't have to do that. There's some differences in the way these are mounted from 2014 earlier. Starting with the 2015 model, you'll notice there's no bolts here to undo. So for those of you who have had a 2014, you pop the cap off of your filler tube, and there were 3 bolts. I think there were 10 millimeter bolts inside here. You had to undo those, and then you had to pop these famous clips off. Now, we're looking at this assembly as though we were laying underneath the vehicle looking up at it, and it would look just like this. Here are the 2 bottom clips, relatively easy to push in and get done. And then we reached our arm up over, and here's the 2 top clips. I'm just going to tell you right now that I was not able to do this from underneath the vehicle, even with a helper. I resorted to using some Harbor Freight bodywork trim remover tools. They're plastic, so you don't scratch your paint, and I literally pried this out from the outside of the vehicle. Don't recommend that being done. It was very touch and go, and you'll notice that it did kind of tear some rubber up here, but I'm not worried about reinstalling it for that. If I ever have to replace this, it's a $30 part, not that expensive. Okay, so here's what was happening. This, you'll notice, has pulled out from the assembly. This is supposed to be pushed all the way in until just about the last 1/8 of this stem is remaining. But you'll notice that it's pulled away. Okay, now if I flip this over, you'll see there's a hole right here. And that's not supposed to be an empty hole. You're supposed to see the top end of the stem right here flush with that. Okay, so if I turn this back over, you'll notice that this moves when the filler cap is turned. You see that? But it doesn't move together with it. And that's because this has come out. Now you'll notice that it's got some teeth right there. And those are supposed to be up inside, attached to the fuel lid right here. Okay? But they're not. This has simply come loose over time. And again, if we had looked from underneath the vehicle, right there, we would have seen it like this. Now what I'm going to show you in a moment is how you can fix this without ever taking it out. Now the second reason why your fuel lid might be loose is if this spring has come unlocated from where it's supposed to be. Okay, again, this is facing you now when you're looking up from underneath the truck. I think on earlier models, this was actually on top of the assembly and impossible to reach with your hands. Now it's underneath the assembly and easily accessible from underneath the truck. I'll show you that in a minute. Let me show you what we're going to wind up doing. Okay, so what we're going to do, just as a demonstration, again, we're going to leave this in the vehicle. We didn't need to take this out. What I'm just going to do, though, is show you exactly how we would remove this spring and how this fits. I'm just going to pop this off. That was way too easy. And the spring is out. Remember that this goes underneath this tab, right there, like that. Come on. There we go. And then the circle always points toward the tank. So it goes in like this. Just remember that. You don't need to mess with it right now. Okay, here's what we're interested in. This piece is turning freely while the door stays shut. And it shouldn't. It shouldn't. These teeth should be lined up and this should be inserted down into. Now watch this. I'm just going to turn it, and as I turn it, you'll notice there. See there? Eventually it popped down into the slot it's supposed to be in, okay? Now, you'll notice, I don't know if you can see in the sunlight, that stem started to pop up in here, just like it should. Okay, now that you've seen how this aligns, right here, special little thing we want to do, we want to make sure that we put this spring back inside here, because you can't do that once it's tightened in. Okay, so we're just going to very gently pop that spring back on there. There, I found the tooth. I'm sliding this down, and now I'm just going to use a little gentle persuasion. This funny tool that my son made. It's hardwood, cherry or hickory, something like that, pretty hard. And I'm just going to give it a nice little tap. There. Nothing too severe. And now you'll notice that it's all the way down. And if you turn it over, there, that stem is flush right there. Okay, now there's no locking mechanism, unfortunately. I wish there was some kind of locking mechanism. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a pair of pliers and reattach this spring. There. Now, you'll notice, boom. Okay, so I'm going to go put this back into the vehicle and show you how, from underneath the vehicle, we're going to make this happen. Now, a couple things you're probably going to need. You're going to need some kind of long tool that you can get up in here to tap on, because this is going to be up inside the wheel well. You're going to need some kind of long tool. You can use a piece of rebar. You can use a long ratchet extension if you have one of those. You want to just get it on here at 12, maybe a 12-inch long ratchet extension. We're going to need something we can get up on this piece so that we are able to pop it up into place. Okay, what we're going to do is, from underneath the vehicle, we're just going to kind of pull this spring off of here. We're going to find the tooth where this is supposed to be, and we're going to tap it up into place where it's supposed to be in the case. Then we're going to reattach the spring on here, and bang. We don't have to take the lid off. We don't have to unclip these clips. The only time you need to do any of that is if you need to take this assembly off, if for any reason you destroyed it making a YouTube video, or some other reason something cracked or came apart up in here. Again, this is a $29 part. I think it's $29.99, something like that. Pretty simple to find. Okay? All right, so let me put this back in, and I'll be right back with you. So we are laying underneath the vehicle, underneath the, right in front of the driver's side rear wheel, right underneath the fuel tank. Now, here's what we're trying to fix. That spring right there is not doing its job, and it is because that stem is pulled out too far. It has fallen out, and we need to be able to get it back up where it goes. Now, for me to be able to do that, I'm going to need to take that spring off. So I'm just going to take a wrench real quickly, and I'm just going to pop it out from underneath this particular spool. just clips over the top of that, as you can see right there. Okay, a screwdriver worked really well for that. I just pushed it literally off that clip right there. That is to the top of the screen. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist this little tab right here until I find where its teeth line up, just like I showed you just a minute or two ago. Once I find where those teeth line up, then I'm just going to tap that into place. Okay, I'm just going to use about a 12-inch ratchet extension, and I'm just going to gently tap it up in there where it goes, and then I'm going to reattach that spring. I don't know if you can tell or not, but this looks a lot more flush now. You can tell that it's not pulled out away from the assembly anymore. It's right up in there. I was able to gently tap it. Again, I twisted it until I felt the teeth line up, and then I just gently, you don't want to force it, gently kind of tap that up in there. It moved very smoothly, and it popped up in there, and I even felt it kind of lock or click a little bit. Okay, now I'm just going to reattach that spring. All right, here we are outside, and works great. Springy, solid, works great.